You think you know the 100 Acre Wood. But today, we'll prove that not every story involving a familiar face is meant for the bedtime stories. Yeah. In a world where nostalgia meets nonsense, things can get weird fast. And trust me, they do. Grab a glass, settle in, and get ready for a tale that bounces between bizarre and unbelievable. Let's just say your childhood favorites might not be as innocent as you remember. Welcome to Capers and Cocktails, a true crime podcast that doesn't take itself too seriously and gives you something to enjoy while you listen. The following content may be disturbing to some. Discretion is advised. If you're enjoying one of our themed cocktails, ensure you're of legal drinking age and have fun, but drink responsibly. Winnie the Pooh and his stuffed friends have a home in the children's section of the main branch of the New York City Public Library. A pig, a donkey, a tiger, a kangaroo, and a bear sit in a glass case for thousands of visitors to see every year, and they look pretty good for being over 100 years old. I've actually seen them. These stuffed animals that call the New York Public Library home were the inspiration for the original A.A. Milne stories. A.A. suffered from PTSD, or what they called shell shock, after his time in the trenches of World War I. And as a result, moved his family from London. He spent countless hours on his quiet country retreat with his only child, Christopher Robin, and his stuffed animal collection. Christopher Robin asked his father to make up a story about Winnie the Pooh, and he did just that. Winnie the Pooh comes up with a plan to steal honey from some bees in a tree by rolling himself in mud to disguise himself as a rain cloud. He gets a big blue balloon and floats up toward the hive, singing songs to himself. He never gets his honey, but he did succeed in becoming a sensation that has lasted 100 years. The original English version of A.A.'s first collection of stories sold a whopping, for the time, 32,000 copies, while in the United States, 150,000 copies were nestled on nightstands by the end of the year. Walt Disney acquired the rights to Winnie and his friends from Pooh Corner in 1961, and the rest is history, with Pooh's honey-filled adventures becoming as timeless as the bear himself, spreading joy and sticky fingers around the world ever since. Tigger, that bouncy troublemaker, was introduced in Chapter 2 of The House at Pooh Corner. He introduces himself with a roar. His first adventure with Pooh is searching for a food that Tigger can eat for breakfast. Despite saying that he likes everything, it turns out that he does not like honey, acorns, thistles, or most of the contents of Kanga's cupboard. They find out, luckily, that what Tigger really likes best is extract of malt, which Kanga has because she gives it to her baby, Roo, as strengthening medicine. One thing that Tigger does not like or participate in is vaping, at least canonically. But unfortunately for, I guess, us, today's crime involves a thieving, bouncing buddy of Winnie the Pooh and the nicotine-infused, disgusting sensation vapes. If you didn't know, vaping is big business in the U.S. In 2019, over 5 million U.S. middle and high school students reported using e-cigarettes, with some vaping every single day. That's nearly 1 in 4 high schoolers, and that was 6 years ago. I'm sure it's probably double now. A single Juul pod contains as much nicotine as a whole pack of cigarettes, and some vape liquids contain formaldehyde and heavy metals like lead and nickel, which have been linked to cancer and severe lung damage. So why would Tigger be interested in that nonsense? Well, probably because he's not really Tigger. I know you're shocked. In what might be one of the more bizarre burglaries caught on camera, a man dressed head to toe in a full Tigger costume was seen breaking into a Nebraska vape shop. Surveillance footage showed the striped suspect hurling a concrete rock straight through the store's front window before climbing inside. But he didn't just sneak around. He bounced through the shop, fully committing to the character as he grabbed handfuls of merchandise. He was actually wearing a gray hoodie over the full costume and took great advantage of the pouch on that hoodie, stuffing all of his wares into it. More like Kanga, if you know what I mean. By the time he made his escape, Tigger had swiped roughly $500 worth of vapes and accessories. It's safe to say that this was not the most inconspicuous crime, but it was certainly a memorable one. Of course, our cocktail for this week has to be Tigger's Bouncy Brew. This one is a cocktail of my own invention and perfect for Tigger and Tiger fans. You'll need orange-flavored vodka, triple sec, and orange juice to make this orange delight. You just mix it together and sip up. As always, the recipe for both the cocktail and the mocktail are in the description box. And if you're going shopping, the ingredients for next week's concoction are also in the description box. You're welcome. Bounce your way down there and check it out. Get it? Oh, bounce over to the like button while you're at it, would you? Get it? This is not the first time Winnie and his friends have been around trouble. In the early hours of the morning in October 2012, police in Hamilton, New Zealand responded to reports of a string of unusual thefts, including the theft of a large Winnie the Pooh costume. Security guards at Dinsdale shops called authorities just after 2 a.m. when they discovered that 4 businesses, a hair salon, a costume shop, and 2 takeout restaurants had been broken into. Along with the stolen items, the thieves caused extensive damage. Police tracked a group of suspects to a nearby property where they recovered several stolen items. 4 people were arrested, 24-year-old, an 18-year-old, and 2 females aged 18 and 16. 2 others were taken into custody for obstruction. Senior Sergeant Frida Grace would say, quote, "Heaven knows what the offenders were planning to do with their loot," end quote. Their spoils included hair products, soft drinks, and the gigantic Winnie the Pooh costume. In 1974, Disneyland employee Robert Hill was accused of smacking a young girl right in the head while dressed as Winnie himself, leaving her with bruising and headaches for months. The family lodged a complaint against Robert at Disneyland City Hall. Then, I'm sure you're shocked, they sued him for damages. The family first sought at least $100,000, but by the time the case was actually heard in court in 1980, they had dropped the total suit to $15,000. Evidently, Winnie the Pooh had a much different costume in 1974. Pooh was a little less furry and a lot more plasticky, with short, stubby arms and a honey pot atop his yellow head. The performer's head was inside that pot, and he could see out of the honey lettering. According to Robert, what the family said had happened was not physically possible. So in order to prove his case, his lawyers actually had Robert wear his costume into court. As you may or may not know, one of the strict rules Disney has for its costume characters is that they must stay in character once dressed. So while in court, he could only use head nods, foot stomps, and big swings of his tummy to indicate answers. He also demonstrated that those arms just weren't long enough to smack a 9-year-old in the head. In the end, it took the jury just 21 minutes of deliberation to find Robert not guilty. The judge declared, "The Pooh has been vindicated." That's a direct quote. In Chicago in September of 2000, a person donned a Winnie the Pooh costume to fraudulently charge fans $10 for parking in a lot at 21st and Michigan, near Soldier Field during a Bears-Lions game. The individual collected money from unsuspecting attendees before disappearing, leaving them with invalid parking spots. The people who had given their dough to Winnie found their cars towed at the end of the game. At least the Bears won, right? And one of the Bears, Winnie, really won. It was a wild night in Niagara Falls on May 1st, 2021. Around 8 p.m., officers arrived at Packard Court after reports of a robbery and were pointed towards the community center, where a missing costume had allegedly vanished into the 100 Acre back alley. The victim, a performer from DJ Dance Boogie, had been hired to bring some Tigger-style bounce to a child's birthday party, making balloon animals in full costume. But things took a sharp turn when a partygoer realized face painting wasn't part of the package. According to the performer, a woman became upset, and when she tried to leave, she was followed outside by 2 women who attacked her, one holding her down while the other delivered a smackdown straight out of a heffalump nightmare, yanking off the Tigger costume in the process. But the crime didn't stop there. The same suspect reportedly grabbed the performer's car keys and flung them away before making a getaway. When police returned to the scene, they found one of the alleged attackers, but she refused to spill the honey. She didn't tell him anything. The missing Tigger costume, valued at around $300, was eventually discovered abandoned near a dumpster. I know, there's so many 100 Acre Wood criminals, it's difficult to keep track. Back to Mr. Vaping Tigger. Again, with one of these costume crimes, I have to give you bad news. I don't think they caught that bouncing bundle of illegal activity. Despite the fact that he was literally on surveillance camera bouncing all around a store, I guess it wasn't enough to ID the dude, or maybe the police had bigger fish to fry than a broken window and $500 worth of cancer-causing, battery-exploding, death mist sticks. I think he would have been better off stealing honey. Thanks for hanging out with me. What do you think? Do you like these little episodes with lots of different stories every once in a while, or do you prefer the more in-depth looks at a single case? I think variety is the spice of life, personally. But if you feel differently, drop a comment or shoot me an email. I'm trying really hard to listen and adjust based on feedback from my best cocktail conspirators. I definitely listen to what you have to say. Thank you all for going on this adventure to the 100 Acre Vape store today. Next week, we have another cult for you. This one, strangely, involves a fair amount of coconuts. And that's not a euphemism. I mean the actual fruit. I'll see you next week. And remember, if you're going to commit a crime, leave Winnie and his buddies out of it.